For this regular city council meeting for Monday, July 25th, we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Lanyon, Pratt,
Here.
Bellinger,
Here.
Ryan,
Here.
Gilroy,
Here.
Hanson,
Here.
I would entertain a motion to excuse Mr. Lanyon for this evening. Thank you. Do I have support? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now I'm looking for approval of this evening's agenda unless there are changes that need to be made.
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you. Do I have support?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. And now we have an opportunity for audience participation with a maximum of 5 minutes per presentation. If anybody would like to come forward, and you can state your name and your address, please.
Hello, my name is Dalen Howard. I'm running for the Michigan State Senate. My address is 106 East Exchange Street, Apartment 3 in Owasso, Michigan. I just wanted to come and talk to you all today and let you know that should I win, one of my priorities will be to get more funding to local small communities. Being from the Owasso-Corona area, I understand how most of the money goes to larger cities and especially for essential services. Grew up in a first responder family, so I'm a big supporter of our law enforcement as well, and would love to talk to you afterwards. I'll be here.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dalen. Thank you for coming this evening. All right, if there's no other audience participation, I'll move right along. We have our council meeting minutes of July 11th, 2022. I'm looking for a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve council meeting minutes for July 11th.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you both. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Noah, did you have an opportunity to review accounts payable?
Yes, I did. It was a very small group, and I also want to thank council for approving the last city council accounts payable when I was not here.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
That was Brandon who did
Yeah.
I heard he jumped in and helped out. So-
He did.
so-
He did.
So thank you. So after doing that, I'd like to make a motion to approve checks 75716 dated 7/8 through check 75743 dated 7/12. Approve ETF 279 and ACH 276 through 280 in a total of $79,004.21.
Thank you so much. Did anybody have any questions regarding accounts payable this evening? All right, I'm looking for support for his motion. Thank you, Dan. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Ryan,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Moving along, we have one action item for this evening, and that is our council vacancy applicant extension. I see from our memo from Holly that the applicant that we did have has withdrawn his application. So, Tim, I have a question. We are getting we've passed the point of no return for, I believe, application submissions for ballot, correct, Holly? For November? Tomorrow. We have no applicants at this time. If we were to put somebody on, it would be a very short term through November. If we have full council present or if we have quorum present, can we suspend that seat and just move on towards November? Or what is our best option moving forward?
Thank you. Ali pretty much asked me the same thing
Sure.
before the meeting. There's nothing in the charter that says what happens if you don't fill the vacancy within the 60-day time period. In other contexts, for other offices, it's something other than a home rule city. It's usually if you don't appoint within the time, then you have to hold a special election. But there's nothing that indicates that here for city of Williamston. And even if you had to call a special election because you didn't appoint someone within the deadline period, the next election is November anyway.
Right.
So it's not really going to do you any good.
Right.
To the point where if you don't appoint someone within the time allowed by charter, the seat will probably remain vacant.
Okay.
And then, if nobody runs for it, then after the November election,
We start
the
the
seat
process
is
over.
vacant again, and
Right.
a 60 days starts
Again.
again.
Yeah. So the cycle just keeps continuing until we
Yes.
fill it.
Yes, and
Right.
of course, if you were to fill the vacancy created by the lack of an elected individual at the November election, that wouldn't be for the entire term. It would be just until then the next general election.
Correct. And our next general election is obviously the 24, 2 years. So in hypothetical theory, if we do not fill a seat prior to November, and we have an open seat after the November election, we can continue to solicit applications to fill a seat.
Yes.
Do we need to move on this, or could we table this, or should we set a new deadline? I know we have a recommended action.
Well, and that recommended action makes sense because you're still within the 60 days.
Okay.
And you might get somebody that you can appoint to serve until November. And if nobody's running, you'll be in a position, and maybe
That
your
person.
appointee might be a candidate for appointment to the new vacancy, and will have had
A little
then,
bit of experience.
there you have it.
Okay, all right, okay. Thank you, Tim, I appreciate it. Yes, Terry, go ahead.
How many people are on the ballot for city council in November?
So far, we've received 2.
2. How many openings are there?
4 seats.
That's what I was thinking.
We had 4 incumbent. Obviously, Mr. Siebel, did not decide to run and hold his seat. He would have been an incumbent because he filled a seat like you yourself did. He would have had the choice to do a petition and put his name on the ballot. So there are 4
Okay.
seats.
And you're not running again?
I did not, but that also leaves me open, if I have to step back in, I could be reappointed.
He could be reappointed by
and-
application,
Okay.
so,
You are up for election also, right?
no, he's 24. Tommy's 24, I'm 24, Brandon's 24. No, Brandon's running with
Brandon
you.
is running this time.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
So,
I just wanted to get the numbers figured out.
Sure.
Thank you.
well, with that being said, and thank you so much for your clarification, Tim, and for your question, Terry, I'm looking for this requested action.
Make a motion to extend the acceptance of applications to fill the city council vacancy until August 3rd, 2022 at 5 p.m. with review and interviews taking place on August 8th, regular city council.
And the rest of them.
And the final decision being made August 22nd, council.
Thank you so much, Terry. Do I have support?
Support.
Tommy's got it.
All right, thank you. Holly, can I have a roll call, please?
Rhines?
Yes.
Gilroy?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Pratt?
Yes.
Bellinger?
Yes.
All right, that concludes our action items for this evening. Moving into our discussion items, I believe we're going to do as we did in our previous council session. We will suspend our rules for this council session so that we can move into this open discussion for our city hall building. So I'm going to turn this over to our city manager, John Hanson.
Thank you, Mayor Gilroy. Just decided to start out here tonight rather than trying to leap over people to start presentation. So, all of you have lived in this building a lot longer than I have, and we know that the Bergman study was completed in March, and I had a little bit of back and forth with them to get to the final product. But that's really been the primary analysis tool, is that study. And they took a pretty deep dive into the building, its mechanical systems and the electrical systems, and then also some of the functionality areas. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But for tonight, this is really our first work session to discuss, what pathway forward do we take? Because as you all know, the Bergman study included the entire renovation for that was just under $600,000, and that's a pretty significant amount of money to put in a building that, after all that money is spent, in my opinion, it really doesn't improve much of the functionality. So, but at any rate, if you want to click the next slide, there's really, anytime, just page down. New laptop, sorry. So what's important for us? Obviously, our building has to be safe for the employees and visitors. It's got to be accessible for residents, businesses, and customers. And by accessible, I mean ADA compliant, but also in an area that people can easily get to. Right now we're currently on Grand River. We have plenty of parking in the area, so that's obviously a plus. Improved council chamber. As I said, it's probably for all of you that are on boards and commissions, it's probably the most difficult part. Because on a daily basis, the building isn't really that tough, other than the, the obvious issues with mechanical and electrical. It's basically functional for us as staff, but, and even in that Bergen study, the look they took at this council chamber, they had it removing that back wall, but the dimensions of the building don't change. The table's the same size, or would be, or could be, unless we completely reorient the room. So, but at any rate, I think it's important that we're in downtown. I think that's always key, to have your city hall in downtown, whenever possible, and we have that now, obviously. We want it to be affordable, it's gotta be functional, it also has to be a place to be proud of. We don't need to create, a monument to local governments everywhere, but it has to be a building that we don't mind people coming in to visit, and, that's welcoming to residents. And it really should be a 25-year solution. If we're gonna take a big plunge and spend significant dollars, it should serve us for a long time. So.
You mentioned a study, is it a Bergman study or something?
Yes.
Yep.
That's the company that did the study.
Yes.
Right.
Have I seen that in the?
Yeah.
It was sent out in an email.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. So, and it really, this would apply to anything, whether it's your house or a building that you're in. You can renovate the existing building that we're in. We can acquire and then renovate a different building. We build a new facility, or we could do nothing. It's kind of meant to look like a stop sign on a page down. So, and I apologize, the slides don't really translate very well, but you do have these in your packet. So, the advantage here, we are in the downtown. If we did move forward with the recommendations of Bergman, it improves, some of the practical things, mechanical, HVAC, et cetera. We wouldn't have any cost of site improvements or acquisitions, obviously. We are next to the police department, which is, certainly a key element, not just for functionality and working with the department, but also for safety and security for boards, commissions, also the staff. I would say, again, back to the Bergman study, it's somewhat cost prohibitive for the net gain in usable space. If you going back, and my intent was not to completely dissect that tonight, but just to kind of give you, I guess, my mindset of where I'm at with that. And we'll show that a little bit deeper in the slides. But really, my opinion based on that study is we should do a whole lot less on that side of the wall and do a whole lot more on this side of the wall, because we have the space, and then see what the cost would be to add a council chamber, a new council chamber immediately to our east here. And we do have ample parking in and around the building. So, next slide. So again, this is our council chamber here, and this is their preliminary floor plan. And you can see, this should be one of the most significant improvements made. And you gotta add some storage, and yeah, it removes the table, but my question is then what? Because this building, it's the same size, we're not moving walls here. So unless we completely flip everyone over this way, and the audience is there, you're really not gonna add any space or usable space up here. And the rest of these things, vestibules, yeah, they're okay, but to me, this is wasted space. This doesn't help us.
Right.
Having a better service counter is certainly something we need, not just for service, but also for safety. Adding a public restroom here, I did have some back and forth about whether that's necessary or not. I think it's a good idea, if possible, if it's a relatively low-cost thing. And then on this side, this is all work functional stuff. It's really just a kind of a reboot of what we have, and moving some of the existing, really no existing walls, moving the cubes around. This doesn't really help us that much. And then this does add 2 private offices for the treasurer and the clerk, and that's my area back there. It adds this hallway. This is, whenever possible, you can avoid, if we have an open office environment, we have more room. But this hallway, this is a complete wasted space, and this really doesn't change. So again, this wasn't, Bergman did their job, and I wasn't here to commission that study. They did the job they were asked to do, and they did a pretty comprehensive look at this building and improving their attempt on improving the functionality within these 4 walls. But again, where I think it falls short of the mark is we need to, so this wall here, we need to put more energy and effort on this side and even out here. And I know there's a stairwell here up to the 2nd floor, but that's easy enough to move. So,
Quick question.
yeah.
We're looking for more room in the council chamber, but we've added these storage areas in the back. Are those really important? Are they really super functional somehow?
we don't really have storage
Yeah.
on this first floor.
That's
And
why we have this.
Right. Well, and the upstairs, what was in the Bergman study too, the upstairs is really kind of non-functioning storage, just because of the age of the building and everything. We don't have off-site storage, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do not have off-site storage, so it's something that we need to have.
In your opinion, if we took out this wall, took that storage stuff, put it offsite or something like that, moved this back 8 feet or whatever, would that be a sufficient area for public meetings and so forth?
It would not.
Mm-mm.
Not when we sit everybody at the table and with myself and the clerk and the city attorney. I mean, it's a tight squeeze
It
up
is.
there in the best of times. And again, it doesn't improve, putting any kind of resources in this room for that function, it doesn't improve anything.
And I think the one thing that our goal that we would strive to be is, we do want to be ADA compliant,
Correct.
and we're not, really.
In a lot of the areas, we aren't. And that's just the age of the building, and there hasn't been a lot of money spent on projects here. So,
Right.
You can click to the next slide. So this is I don't know how many of you have seen this, but the original police station concept included, so here's the existing footprint of the building. This is the council chamber, and on the next slide you can see the three-dimensional side of it. And this is where the police station was going to be. There were some garage doors on this side. Obviously, we don't need to do that because we built the police station, but this council chamber, I think, would fit pretty nicely in this area here. So you can click the next slide. So you can see, here's the front door, and then this comes out a little bit, so it adds a little bit of square footage, potentially, if we chose to go this route. And then next slide. And this just gives you, again, this is a real down and dirty, free cut and paste job by me, but it just gives you a look of what the building facade might look like.
Right.
And really, I don't know that it would be, oriented the way it is here. I tend to lean to have it be more of a wing similar, in, maybe not in size, but in scope of the wing that's on the other side of the
Almost like a mirror image,
Yeah.
a flip.
Yeah.
Yep.
Traditionally, if their facade wasn't added in the 90s, it's taboo to, when you add on to a historic building, to try and make it look the same, but this is, it's a historic building underneath, but it's not in its,
Right.
existing historic state. There's no rule against it, just,
Right.
I don't want to be hounded by architects for the rest of my life if we go through. Next slide. So, if we don't, and this one doesn't come real, but if we were to try and acquire or renovate a different building, there aren't a lot of things available in the downtown, which is great. It's a great problem to have. The purchase price for building, obviously, we buy the building, but then there's the cost to renovate or customize a building for the city's use. And we would have to potentially move away from the police department. I have done some due diligence on some of the available properties, and I can tell you the former bank down the street, and talking with the realtor, that deal would be a cost prohibitive and bad deal for the city of Williamston. I mean, the deal they put in front of us, after they didn't really want to put one in front of us, but a 10-year lease for about $445,000 a year, and then the option at the end of the 10 years to buy the building at market rate. Well, that's for a building that's not custom to us or even really perfect. It would have been an option if it was at a price point of 150 or 200, but it just isn't.
Right.
It's my understanding it was available for a while, but the timing didn't match up for the city to pursue that. So there aren't a lot of options for this. Next slide. Same thing, a new facility, of any reasonable size, is going to be $1 million to $1.5 million, and that's for the building. Doesn't include the land or the parking or anything like that. There's not a lot of available land in the downtown. All the land that's around the police stations, occupied either by us or others. And as I said, we have the cost to add parking. Next slide. So the challenge with doing nothing, we do have a lot of work to put in here. When I first started here in February, we had some discussions about, a little bit about the study, but also about the lack of functionality of some of the things. And when I started here, the air conditioner didn't work, which is great because it was February, right? But we had to fix it. So, and that's, we can't not have air conditioning in the building. And the good news, the building is huge, so it wasn't an incredible cost. I think it was just under $6,000, but those are the things that we have to address, whether we stay here for 6 months or 6 years. The upstairs is not really in any usable condition. And again, I don't know how it got to that point, and not all of you haven't been on council for a million years, so it just isn't usable. So,
Right.
at some point, we're gonna have to do something to it, or we just have to, tape it off and not use it. And then in the study, yes.
The question for the upstairs is just this
It's
section right
right
here.
above us.
Not this section over here, that's one story.
Yeah, yeah.
Did Bergman look at the upstairs at all and give any ideas what it would take to make it functional anyway?
They looked at it and said that, yeah, it's in rough shape. I mean, that was basically the analysis, but again, I don't know what the original ask of them was. I mean, to me, it seems, it's just money to make it usable again. We'd have to figure out the stair if we go a different direction, but at a minimum, we need to repair any leaks in the roof or anything like that, which I think that's been done. But that will go a long way towards preserving what we do have, whichever direction we go.
Right.
So other than being just kind of junky, and maybe there's mice and stuff like that, it could be functional if it was cleaned
Sure,
up.
yeah.
If-
Yeah,
The big thing is the stairwell.
Yeah.
The stairwell for carrying, to use that
Would
for
have to be
storage right
redone.
now, you would have to totally redo that stairwell because it's not safe to carry
Correct.
things up and down the stairs.
I mean, what I could foresee happening, if we were to have Bergman come back in and give us a new plan with that added chamber, would be to structurally make that usable. This would turn into more of City Hall office space, and I had this conversation with Corey when he first decided to have Bergman come and do the walkthrough and look and see what we could do, but to expand City Hall into this area and potentially put the new council chamber over there, which then you would structurally, support this, make it functional again upstairs, have an interior staircase so you'd have access up, but it's gonna take money to do it, if we decide to do that, and if we decide to have Bergman come back with a new plan.
And I guess the other question is, what would we use the upstairs for if it was usable? Because if we added the council chambers and added some more storage here,
Sure.
then we kind of don't need the upstairs again,
Yeah.
so what do you do with it?
yeah, and that'd be, that would take a further look, but in my mind, that would, the only really good use up there, solving the access to stair issue is for storage.
Yeah, like attic space,
Correct.
like a
Yep.
pull down,
Yeah.
like take out the staircase on the outside,
Correct.
put a pull down in somewhere,
Correct. Yes.
and then just, Christmas decorations.
City manager's apartment.
Well, there you go.
24/7 on call.
Hey man, I lived in some shaky places, I'm not afraid of living up there.
So we have 5 people on staff
I don't
in
think
City Hall, right?
There,
we will
I
when we
think
get
there
a
were
treasurer
back
in,
when
right?
it was
Correct.
big, sure.
That's correct, yeah.
Do we need more office space?
We do not,
Okay.
we
so
don't need
we-
more, but
We
the
need
challenge
improved.
is, pardon me?
We need improved
Yeah,
office
really,
space.
really the improvement is, it's the access, and it's the ability to serve the public, efficiently. That's a really, I get it was born out of necessity during COVID to put the plexiglass up, and it adds a little bit of security. But in my vision, and again, and we haven't even talked about dollars yet, and that's obviously a next step that we're not gonna even cover tonight, but in my mind, this is the access point, this is the service counter, the length of this wall, and then on that side, we really don't have to spend, in my opinion, a lot of dollars on that side. And then this side, it's really just removing that wall, making that storage or not, moving the clerk over here, moving the clerk away from our de facto server room, which isn't really a server room, and it would allow us to create a server room, a secured server room over there would be a relatively low cost thing to do. And then, the new.
That's where our server's at right now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, to be fair to our city staff, they have worked without walls for a very long time. It would be nice for the treasurer, the clerk, our front desk people, to have a little bit more of, a little bit more of a private workspace. There's certain things that need to have, security, privacy.
Right.
Conversations, when you have somebody at the counter and you have staff that's answering phones and, you can't really have those private conversations. So it's really like creating a new foot plan inside this building to give them the space they deserve. I think, Holly you're the clerk, but you have also had like shared space with the treasurer, and I'm sure there's probably times when you're on phone calls that maybe you would like more privacy.
For sure.
So I think that would be a huge improvement. I think our city staff is deserving of that.
It looks on this one projection here, the sort of cut and pasting, it looks like the council chambers, the proposed extension over there, is also 2 stories, or am I just looking at that the wrong way?
It'd be a 1-story. It's just, it's to match up the look of the other side, yeah, the
The other
facade.
side. Like a-
Would there be, how, I guess it would be structurally difficult to sort of move this wall halfway across here and then take out this wall and then add something beyond that.
That's probably a load-bearing wall. I don't think
Yeah,
It's probably gonna be.
I think that all the dominoes fall if that wall
Yeah.
moves. I think that's the
Yeah.
only one that we don't wanna tinker with.
Yeah. I mean, any other questions for John regarding this? Dan, I see.
I think you've done a lot of work on this with looking at other places downtown. I know past city administrations have looked at moving other places. I mean, we did the whole land swap with the school, which was a disaster. In my opinion, I wasn't on council then, and different things, and there's not a lot of space other than that. So looking at building out that way to the area we already own, and then revamping this in here to accommodate what we already have, it is our best option. I know there have been other people in town that are just trying to find empty lots that are going for a quarter of what we're talking for this. That's before, and that's like the size of what Tavern made their patio.
Right.
You know, and that was 250,000.
Yep.
So I think figuring out the best use of the land and the building we have here and a budget we can live with is
Right.
the best way we can.
I would agree. Tom?
The only thing I wanted to ask, I guess, is that, and I know we weren't gonna talk about money, that's a whole nother topic, but, we talked about acquiring a new location for a new building. Say everything came apart and this building was just not feasibly repairable. It was just gonna cost too much for what the building was worth. Why would we want to acquire a new piece of property for a city hall instead of rebuilding right here at this location?
The challenge, if we were to tear this down, you have the carrying cost of moving out somewhere. And renovating in place is not great, but it's always a lower cost option. But to tear this down and then to rebuild it about the same footprint, new construction costs are anywhere from 200 to 300. We'd probably be more closer to 200 because most of our spaces are open. You know, we don't have a lot of frills, but you know, to build we'd have the demo for the facility, which would be probably $40,000, I think, from the jump, and then a new facility that would be 3,000 square feet, for example. So you're looking at 660, and that's without, you know, furnitures, fixtures, and equipment, and then the cost of moving somewhere, which that wouldn't be horribly significant, but there is a cost, probably 20 to 30,000 by the time by the time we move, and then even if we use internal staff to do that, then we got to find a place to go for a
That
time.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And to be I am on the same page with Dan. I think the best option is if we can feasibly make this work. I actually really like this building. It kinda, I mean, it used to be the fire department 100 years ago. It's got some historical relevance in the city. I'm sure it's on postcards for Williamston.
Oh, yeah, everything.
It's kind of it'd be kind of a shame to.
It's the cover of one of the
for it to not
historical
be
books.
there. To keep some of that historical charm
yeah.
there is.
John, question for you. Would we have to have a phase one done over here on this side because that's where the original water tower sat? Would we have to have anything done with that to make sure that it's buildable?
I mean, we'd have to do some level of environmental analysis. Scott DeReese and I have walked it, and he said it's just a pit, but it was for water. I mean,
Sure.
it wasn't like it was a fuel farm or anything like that. But obviously, we have our own historical records, and we have to be comfortable moving forward with building. And that would be a question too, ultimately with the architect and the builder to verify.
And I know that that would be a new addition, but would there be any possibility of applying for historical preservation funds? Because we would be maintaining this building, we want to preserve it. Would we fall into that category at all?
We would technically qualify, but typically with historic preservation dollars, there has to be a public-private partnership, so we would have to have a private partner in the building. I think about who that might be, maybe the Chamber of Commerce, possibly, just that would be like, to me, the only logical one that we would partner with, or it's obviously not big enough for the senior center.
Right.
So, we'll definitely pursue it, but because we'll pursue it.
Right.
I don't want to give you the 99% reason why it wouldn't work. We'll definitely pursue it.
What about energy efficiency grants? Because we would be doing new mechanical, new windows, that
Sure.
type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can definitely pursue those. Yep.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, the inspection that was done, the report done on the building here, they weren't actually able to access the tower up there, so they weren't able to make a full report on the structural integrity and so on. And what I'm kind of wondering is, does anybody in this room have any personal experience of the tower? Is there going to be an added expense when we get up there and we open the door in the tower and we go, oh my gosh, this is horrible?
I think that all comes along with the roof and the interior structure that goes up there.
I mean, has anybody been there? Is there?
Well, that actually used to be where the fire siren lived when it was the fire station.
Okay.
And so the fire siren was up there. I mean, our guys go up there with the high-low to put lights on the building, but I don't think anybody actually climbs up into it, right?
I'm just wondering if there are any surprises waiting for us.
I'm sure we would find out.
Are you volunteering to climb up?
I'd be volunteer, yeah, no problem.
I'm sure there's gonna be, it's like with any construction project,
have
something's gonna crop, that's why you have a contingency.
Yeah.
Right.
Something's gonna come up, but that is one that you could easily use some of the contingency on.
Yeah. It's a part of the historical look of the
Right.
building. I think we would want to maintain the integrity of that.
Might be worthwhile to get somebody up there, maybe from DPW or something.
Well, I think Bergman would probably go up and do a more thorough look through.
Just out of curiosity, John, aside from the old Fifth Third Bank, was there any other locations that were considered? Just when you're kind of looking around, is there anything else for sale that might
just-
kind of fit, or?
The short answer is yeah. I mean, I look at LoopNet pretty frequently. One, I'm just curious what might be available, and I'm trying to figure out like who has an interest in the vacant industrials, like at either end of town on Grand River. So I look, but most of the opportunities are out towards the highway on Putnam, and and that's kind of a rolling. Depends on who's leasing or who isn't. And sometimes the realtors, since I've been here, they've listed them for sale. And they're not cost prohibitive, but again, they're so far out of town, and they're gonna, the price in the end will match up what our project will be in the end, so.
I would have a really hard time seeing our city hall move out of downtown and moving out there. I mean, I would love to fill those lots and everything, but,
Right.
so obviously we're gonna move forward with this and we can have Bergman come back in. 30,000 foot view timeline, what would you say?
Yeah, so I think that it is, and that's, you can hit it next on the alley days. So, talking about.
Smash it.
There you go. So, I've talked to Bergman, several times since I've been here and talked to them about that we were having this first work session with council, and that we'll likely be coming back to talk to them about the possibility of doing some reconfiguring on the interior and then also adding the council chamber. So timeline, that process will be, relatively quick, 60 days or so. And then it's putting together the overall plan if council moves forward, and then also, in the meantime, in that 60-day period is coming up with a refined estimate for what we would need to spend here.
Okay.
And then you can make a policy decision as a council moving forward, whether that's part of a new budget. And that would be, I would say the earliest we would do construction, if everything aligned and everybody was on board with the program, or enough of you, I'll just be frank, enough of you, 4 of you. Hopefully it's all 7 or 6, whatever our number is. But we could, as early as, next July to start construction, the start of a new
So
budget
would
year.
this, no matter what decision we land on, would this be something that goes into the next coming budget year?
So,
I know we weren't
yeah,
talking about money yet.
potentially, well, I mean, the reality is we will, for a project, and I'll just use $250,000 for example, there's not really and we're in great financial shape as far as fund balance, so we can always use fund balance. We have available fund balance to do a project like that. I don't see, just the size of our budget, if we have $250,000 like in discretionary funding in one given year, well, we're probably not doing what we should. Does that make sense? That's almost too much of a fund balance for a $2 million on a rolling basis to not spend about 10% of your budget.
Right.
So, not that we just want to spend, but you know, our tax base and the taxes we collect should be right around that sweet spot. We should be spending about 95% every year, give or take. So.
Any other? Yes, Tim?
Yes, I'll just talk about historical preservation. Often we have to get a review from the State Historical Preservation Office if a project is going to have some impact on a historical structure or site.
You're talking about SHPO, right?
Yes.
Yep, I'm aware.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what does SHPA stand for really quick, the
State
acronym?
Housing Preservation Office.
Historic.
State Historic Preservation Office,
Okay,
sorry.
all right. So because this is a historical building, we would want to have that discussion with them.
Correct.
So they'll control it, but they won't fund it.
No, I don't think they control it, no. They don't control it. Quick
No, I think that
definition of what they are responsible for.
So there's a review to make, I mean, again, I'll cut right to it. If we made the policy decision to tear the building down, which we are not gonna do, we can do that.
Right.
We just have to conduct a review. SHPO can't prevent you from removing a historic building. They
Okay.
can't prevent you from doing that.
But the funding would only happen if there was a public-private combination thing, is that what you're saying before?
That's the typical quickest and best chance of success for historic preservation grants or brownfield redevelopment. I don't think this is really a brownfield. The only way it'd be a brownfield, we would qualify it as blighted, which means we'd have to tear a significant portion of it down, and we don't need to or don't want to do that.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. And if you have further questions, like something comes to you after we're done with this meeting, let John know.
Sorry,
Yes,
John.
Dan?
Going back to the new Bergman study, John.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what we spent on the original one. Obviously, they're not gonna have to redo the work they've already done, but we're adding some things to it. Do we have any idea what bringing Bergman back out? I'm asking ballpark.
Yeah, not more than like 10 grand.
Okay.
All right. All right, well, if we continue on with our agenda, do you want to talk about road diet at all? I mean, we have our timeline. Do you have an update or anything you want to give us?
No, I will say that since our last work session, we had a DDA meeting, I had a couple of chamber meetings, and
Yep.
we continue to talk about it at each of those meetings, and we'll continue to do that. And it's been overwhelmingly, for a lot of people, it has the Four Corners has a negative connotation, but it's been an overwhelmingly positive discussion about making some level of improvement there. So I think we all knew that would happen, but
Yep.
I've been really encouraged by that.
All right.
And I'll continue to discuss it with every group and every media source that I can. So,
Excellent, thank you.
yeah.
All right, we did not receive any correspondence. Our department head reports, John, you're up again for your report.
I need the exercise, sorry, I'm done. My written report's there. I guess the only thing really to add to that is we are interviewing treasurer candidates here tomorrow, so that's exciting. And then we're hopeful that at the first meeting in August, that we'll be able to present candidates to city council.
Excellent, great, thank you
This
so much.
River Alley idea here,
Yeah.
I read this stuff ahead of time, and I tried to explain it to somebody else, what this River Alley would look like. I couldn't do a very good job of explaining it.
Yeah.
Can you add some words to the picture, or some, can you make me so I can picture this thing?
Absolutely, I got plenty of words to share. So,
It's a great
it's the
concept.
alley, and we discussed this at DDI, and it's just in the discussion phase about the right way to make this space that otherwise is just there, a functional part of the downtown. And it's the alleyway between Lafayette and D&W, and that is a public alley.
Across from the slide.
And so,
Yep.
the original thought is just to dress it up a little bit with planters or lights or things like that. And then the Liz from Book Warehouse, I believe that's the
Yep, yep.
Book Warehouse has been
Garrett.
running story time in there. She did get permission from the city some time ago to do that. The business owners around there have been supportive of it. I mean, we don't view this as like having like a huge festival or being this enormous functioning thing, but it's just another way to add interest to the downtown, The other communities that I've worked in, we've done this, and in Chelsea, the alleys were a lot smaller, so the impact was, maybe not huge, but it was a nicer place for people to walk. We just put some lights, and during different holiday times, we dress it up. And then some of the other communities, Howell is a great example.
Yeah.
There's that, they use their alley. There's been all kinds of events. When my kids were little, we used to take them there. They used to have a bunch of Harry Potter events that we went to. So, and really with Garrett, who was the new acting executive director for the chamber and also a DDA board member,
Yes.
he was really the idea person behind this, and so we're just formulating a good plan to make something cool happen there, and again, to be additive to the other things that we have.
Yep.
For example, like during the lights parade, for example, you could have, I don't know, you could have a reindeer there, or pictures with Santa, or a bunch of big presents or something
And
like
there's
that. So.
no traffic, delivery traffic or anything that uses
No.
that.
Nope, it's
Is
just
it
a,
going
it's a,
through the blocks, a walkthrough?
it's a walkthrough.
It's a walkthrough.
It's a
It's curved.
walkthrough.
It's
Yeah.
a walkthrough?
Yep,
How
yep.
about that?
When Will Long, who's our DDA chair, he came up with Alley Fest, and that's right behind Ellie's Country Kitchen, and in that back, going through to behind, our new parking lot. So this would kind of be, this would be something where it's a placemaking location where you can gather, and Holly's familiar with like placemaking and everything. I mean, she did a fabulous job getting the grant for the mural on the other side of the bistro. And so this would just be one more location, where you could gather. Like he said, the book farm is doing story time there. I even thought, you put down a small little platform, and you could have like live music and tables and everything. The pictures give you a great idea of the potential in there. It's just another location to, have some, feature Williamston, an outdoor space.
Cool idea.
What tripped me up was you called it a river alley.
Well,
How does it
because of the
connect
Red
with the
Cedar River,
Yeah.
that was just kind of the name they
Yep.
came up with.
Okay, I got it.
That is the initial branding. And
Yep.
again, I'm just sharing somebody else, my opinion, somebody else's great idea.
Yeah,
And real-
DDA was really on
Yeah,
board with
and
it.
really that's moving forward, it would be a
Stringing up lights in there, that's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah,
DDA in conjunction with chamber or whomever else wants to help
And
out.
realistically, it wouldn't really take much to make that happen. right?
no, it would, and
You
we
kinda
even
just-
talked about,
Move in and do it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
very, very similar if you look at between next to 109. that
Yeah.
little- that little-
something similar like that. I
Except
mean,
there's a walk-through.
yep,
Right.
it's a walkthrough, all the way to Middle Street. You
That's
can
cool.
wind back through there.
I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, it was a great meeting. It was very well received by the DDA members, so we just kind of told them to keep moving along and.
I'm sorry, who's the driver again behind this, the guy?
Yeah. so-
Garrett Gabriel,
yeah.
the Golden Dandelion, he's our executive director for Chamber, and he brought forward the idea, and like he said, Book Farm has been using it for story time.
Is he on the DDA?
Yes,
Yes,
yep.
So you just did your update.
I did my update, yeah, right, thanks, John. All right, moving right along, for other department reports, we have Chief here. Hi, Chief. Long time no see.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, all. I got a little bit of a list for you tonight.
Excellent,
Cool.
Good.
Start with the bad news.
okay.
My young officer, Aaron Clapp, took a job with Shiawassee County Sheriff's Department. Nothing with the department or the co-workers, it was just that's where he lives. He's got a buddy from the academy that's working there, so I'm sure they're excited to kind of work together. County pays a little bit more, it's closer to home. Gas, $5 a gallon. He drives a truck that gets 3 miles of a gallon, so. Those are some of the factors he took in to make that decision. So I'm back on the hunt. I'm working with Mr. Hannafin, and we've got some ideas of how to fill that. We posted our vacancy on MCOs, which is the licensing agency for police officers, along with 500 other vacancies. So I'm in quite the competition to try to move somebody over here. But I've got a few ideas. I'm working on one right now, and we'll see if it comes along. For activity, the guys are still very proactive on afternoons, midnights. Another 6 drunk drivers this past month, one with a 7-year-old child in the car, so which enhanced it to a child endangerment.
You said 6 in the last month? Wow, okay.
We're averaging at least once a week. My other young officer, he's out with COVID again. He got married last month. He and his wife, I think, got it there. Got all better, and then I picked up the new strain. So,
Get them all out of the way.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
Line them up.
Right?
But,
Is he doing okay with the family?
they're doing okay. She's fighting a little harder. She's having a little more issues. But he said he was feeling good, his fever broke, so he's looking at Friday night to be back to work. So, well, we'll see how that goes, but schedule's working out good where I've got my other midnight car covering for us, so we're good. We had several assists to NISA and several to the Meridian Township with mutual aid calls out in the township. Got a few more fraud complaints, credit card frauds, ID theft frauds that we took this month, so a few of those. We are gearing up for some serious training that I hope we never ever have to use, but it's the active shooter training. We at WPD, we've got 20 hours coming up next week at the middle school. We've got this middle school blocked off, so we're going through that as our team. We've got scenarios, we've got all those kind of things.
So you're saying you'll do the training at the middle school?
We will. That's when we have reserved, they got construction at the other one, so we want to be sensitive to them and not popping off blank rounds and having a herd of officers coming in, scaring people, so.
Chief, are you partnering with any other local agencies with that, other departments?
In August,
Okay.
okay, hold on, that's my training in August. LPD is sponsoring the exact same training. I've had 2 officers go through it. It's alert, don't ask me what that stands for. It's the federally recognized procedures how to go after an active shooter. I mean, the bottom line is stop the killing, stop the dying. So the first goal is to go after the shooter. And we know that, and that's what our intent and goal is. We've talked to administrators, I've talked with the superintendent, I've talked with the principals. The odds are I'll probably be a day car that's on, and one of my other 2 guys, will be the 2 of us going. And they know if that call comes, get that door open and get out of our way. They start pointing us in the direction, so like I said, we're already working through those. LPD's got their training coming up. They've got several days for the next 3-4 months, and we are working with them, going through theirs. It's the exact same training we're going through, but we're doing it with other agencies now, so we're all working together, we're all on the same plan. Detective Pintar is working with NISA command staff for the next step in this training is that NISA ambulances and fire, they're not staging 3 or 4 blocks away. They are there, and they know what their role is that they are coming in behind a guard, an officer, protecting to start pulling wounded out of there, while a team is still actively engaging. So you're going from a hot zone to a warm zone to get them out to the cold zone. So our medics, personnel are going to the warm zone to get our victims that we can save. If the initial team is still engaging a threat. So that's the training we've got to get in the mindset, because I know that's not the normal mindset of a medic, to go into a hot scene where there's gunfire going on. So that's where we're switching, and we've got to work together. So Detective Pintar is working with them in that as well. We are stocking, if not all the patrol cars have been stocked, but we're still getting a few more tools that I want, some breaching tools in those patrol cars. We've got, each car's been equipped with a hook, because if they got the locks on the doors in the schools, it's very hard to breach that without a tool. We've all got those, you slide it under, you pop it, we're good to go. We can get into that room now. So we're working through that. And that covers my list, but the big part is the active shooter training. We're really stepping up Harvard School, coming again soon. That's a high priority and very important to all of us.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think everybody sitting here appreciates that, because we've either got kids in school, we've had kids in school, or grandkids. You can't do enough to be prepared, so I think the fact that you guys are really, focusing in on that, and also practicing with another department, best practices, and what works, what doesn't work, and yeah, I like how you said, I hope we never have to use it, but knowing that you guys will be able to, if that were ever to happen, and we hope it doesn't, I'm really appreciative of that. The training that you guys are investing in is huge, something we haven't had in the past, and, I like hearing about that. Any questions for Chief? Dan?
I just wanna commend,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanna commend you that you are working with Lansing, but that you're also training on your own,
Mhm.
because our department's the department that's here, and we know you guys are training together as a unit, and we're not waiting for anybody else if anything happens. That we're working with the other departments, and you guys can all work together cohesively, but then you're also doing your due diligence, you guys will know your roles, and I think that's great. You're doing an awesome job, Chief.
Current events, there's a lot of interest in that sort of thing, so it's good to see you doing this.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Later in the month, Detective Pintar and I are both traveling to West Branch to a high-level, I don't say medic school, but it's to treat wounded. I mean, we've got our tourniquets, we've got our chest seals, we've got our clotting stuff that, we all have that on us. But my understanding is this is nationally recognized as a very high-level school, and Joe got us signed up for that. And so we're gonna hopefully bring those skills back and again, pass them on to our other partners here.
Does that also include, with the increase in fentanyl and all that stuff coming across, do we carry Narcan?
Every car is equipped with Narcan.
So all the officers are trained on the proper use and how to?
Correct, we're all recertified in that, we do that with NISA has certified us to use it, but every car's got it. So yeah, we all know how to use it.
Okay. How many incidents like that do we have in a month in your jurisdiction?
Narcan?
Some sort of an overdose type thing?
So far, knock on wood, it's been a while since we've had those.
Okay.
I thought I had one the other day, but it wasn't. I think it was more of a anxiety. Person went down like that in the Speedway bathroom. And as soon as you hear that somebody's passed out in the bathroom, you're thinking, okay, somebody was doing something. So I had my Narcan. I was right there, and she was a new employee first day. Kind of just, I think she has some other underlying health issues, but it was not an overdose. We've had a few natural deaths in the city over the last few weeks, but nothing of that nature.
Okay, good.
It's a good thing to have. I think there were 3 in Holt at a bar restaurant in Holt last week. So,
And they all survived, right?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
but it's a good thing for our
It's
officers
a good thing to have,
yeah.
and hope they never have to use it, you know.
I also want to make sure they don't have it.
Right, yes, absolutely. Chief,
Cool.
thank you. Oh, and you guys are preparing for National Night Out, however, we're still doing drive through the communities, we are not gathering yet at McCormick Park.
That is correct, and that was a decision, Chief Yance and I, we sat down, we really wanted to get back to the old way it was, but still with this, again, another variant coming out.
Right.
We just, neither one of us are comfortable with that. So we chose to be safe and keep everybody,
Everybody
very
listen
healthy.
for the sirens on August 2nd.
August next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
5 and 7.
There'll be some goodies passed out through our neighborhoods, so make sure you run out when you hear.
If we didn't hit you last year, we missed you, and you've got some youngins in your neighborhood, please call us, let us know, get online, send us an email. We're more than happy to make that trip.
And we'll keep our fingers crossed for 2023, that we can all gather in the park again.
So it's the way it was we
Yes.
gathered in McCormick Park?
Yes.
Just sort of.
Oh, yeah.
It was a
you know,
big
these, get to know
night,
the biggest people.
Noah manned the hot dogs.
Yeah.
It was free food, lots of people came in and set up tents, booths, activities, bounce houses. The fire department had the big rig with water,
All the different
All-
agencies, Kiwanis.
Yep,
and-
Midnight car show.
car show.
Oh, yeah.
Remax would bring their hot air balloon and put it up. There would be people at the band shell playing music. So it's a
Scouts brought their
it's a-
big flag and did.
it's a great community event, and I hope that we're able to bring it back. So we'll just hope for next year.
Do you organize this one too?
No,
No,
it's
no,
National
no.
Night Out. It was put on by the police department.
The big,
You
yeah, and
guys organize
Actually,
it.
But we're gonna punt
and
to Dan, because
Kiwanis
this
is
is
a
a
big,
great job.
Kiwanis is a big
Terry
helper
did a
in
lot
it,
of
Terry
work with that.
Nelson.
Yeah.
All the service organizations really do come together for it, but Terry Nelson, big advocate of it, it's one of her passions. But like I said,
So
hopefully
as soon as we get
2023,
together, you're gonna kind of cruise around town and
hand out goodies.
throw candy to the kids?
Last year they did ice cream.
The frozen popsicles,
Yep.
frisbees, pencils.
Yep.
This year we got bubbles,
Yep. Stickers,
stickers, squeeze ball,
yep. Fun
coloring
stuff.
books.
Fun
So-
stuff.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Sidewalk chalk.
What's your address, Terry? We'll make sure you get something.
I'm on Georgia Street, right
Okay.
next door, there's a house with
Yeah,
5 kids over
stop
there,
right in
house
front
with
of
3 kids
Terry's,
over
honk the
there.
horn, he'll come out.
Lots of kids there.
You probably won't bring the fire truck down your street because it's hard for them to back out.
Right, right.
No, I'm
Thanks.
on the street that has an opening in each, between Wallace and Lloyd.
Oh, okay, okay, you're on that one, okay.
All right, well, thanks, Chief, appreciate it, and for you taking your time and giving us a good update. Subcommittee reports, you all heard about DDA, does anybody have a report they want to share this evening? Anybody?
Parks and Recreation, we've got that, there wasn't a meeting, but the pavilion thing is up.
Yes.
The kayak launch is looking really good.
Yeah, they
Are
cleared
they-
the space for the parking lot.
Yeah, they're in the process of doing the parking lot, but the steps went up. That's a huge chunk of concrete there.
Yeah.
I saw this, the total price, I think it was $32,000, and I thought, wow, that's a lot of money for a kayak launch, you know, but that's, you know, considering the size of the chunk of concrete there. Yeah, that's a good deal.
And down at the end of the church, the Boy Scouts put up a kayak.
Yes.
Canoe rack.
Yep.
Canoe kayak rack.
Eagle, yeah, it was an Eagle project, Eagle
So
project,
that's
yeah.
all done and completed.
Excellent. Anybody else? All right, moving along, we've got another opportunity for audience participation. Anybody want to come forward? All right. Council member comments, I'll start with Tom.
No.
All right, Terry?
No.
All right, Dan? Noah?
Just glad to be here.
Exactly. Yes, we are very, very glad you're here. Well, I just want to thank everybody. We're still rolling through summer. Again, National Night Out next Tuesday evening with lots of goodies out in our neighborhood. Again, if you want to make sure your street gets visited, please call City Hall or the police department. Get your address on their list, and it should be fun. We'll keep our fingers crossed for good weather. We still have our Sunday farmers market. We have our Thursday evening band shell. You know, summer's moving right along at a good clip here in Williamston, so get out, participate, be a part of it. And that's my comments for this evening. I will go ahead and adjourn at 7:56.
Good timing.